Oh my, it is Wednesday night, and that means it's time for the weather show. But this week, it's all about winter. Your first alert to winter, and we've got the whole team contributing tonight. Good evening to you. Thanks for spending part of your week with us. If you're watching us live right now, or maybe later in your week, or maybe even next week, thanks for taking a little time to check this out. We're going to talk all things winter weather tonight. We're going to keep some of our usual format. We'll get you that forecast first. Let's talk about the three big things we're looking for in our first alert to winter tonight. Number one, will it be a white Christmas? I don't know how many people have asked me that. We're going to answer that question right off the top. Number two, long-range winter forecast. What does the winter look like as we head through January, February, even into March? You know, winter isn't just up to Christmas and then it stops. And finally, are you ready? How to get your car ready for winter weather, because it can happen. Just like when hurricane season rolls around, we always get our hurricane kits ready. We've got them ready to go. Make sure your travel is ready as well, and we'll talk about that coming up as well. But first off, we always start with the forecast, and we will, if you're just here for the forecast, and I hope you'll stay past the forecast, we'll get you the forecast right now. We are tracking showers, especially down in the Sandhills. You can see some rain on the First Alert Doppler network out here west of the Triad. If we zoom down into Sampson County, showers and even some thunderstorms firing from Delway to Taylor's Bridge up toward Warsaw. Some more showers back here in southeastern Cumberland County, and these are tracking towards Sampson. So Clinton, you can expect a shower, maybe even a rumble of thunder over the next hour as that presses through. We look at, this is our color vision deficiency, our CVD radar. This is specifically built for people who are colorblind, and if you have problems seeing red and green or differentiating between the two, and some studies say 10% of the folks watching have that problem, we've got you covered. This is always on abc11.com/weather, and you can see where the heaviest rain is. Those are the yellow areas, the lighter rain is the blue areas, and we continue to see these showers out west tonight toward Bristol and Charlotte. Those will work toward us as we head through the evening. They're going to use up a lot of their moisture though, and we don't anticipate a big rainfall here. Live look on our newest camera, our Pendo Sky Cam, looking into downtown Raleigh. Love all the Christmas colors up on all the buildings. 66 degrees right now. Mainly clear in the capital city. It is gorgeous out there. Saw some very warm weather today. First line of showers is down here along this boundary. That's just starting to fire right now. That'll slide east. This is the one we're keeping an eye on. If we zoom it out, it's part of a massive system that extends from the Canadian border all the way to the Gulf of Mexico. Now, you look at this and you say, boy, there's a lot of rain out west. Hopefully we get some showers out of it. Not really. Unfortunately, as all that moisture gets forced up the mountains are kind of like wringing out a washcloth. When you wring out a washcloth, there's still a little bit of moisture left in the washcloth, but most of it pours out. That's what the mountains do to the atmosphere, is that warm air runs up, it wrings out most of that moisture. There'll still be a little bit left over, and that's what we'll see in the overnight, but we will not see any heavy rainfall. A look at tonight's forecast, 49 degrees. We will see a few showers around this evening, then mostly cloudy skies. Winds will stay up about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tomorrow, those numbers back into the 50s, 53 degrees, a mix of clouds and sunshine, and a lot cooler around here, 10 to 15 mile per hour winds. And today we hit 73 for the high. Tomorrow we only hit 53, so 20 degrees colder. We'll look at temperatures across the region. Tomorrow everybody will be cooler under lots of clouds. 52 in Carrboro, Holly Springs, and Siler City. 51 up in Wendell, 52 in Garner, Cary, and Durham. Slide south, you'll see those numbers in the 50s from Rayford to Fayetteville. 58 in Clinton, 53 in Lillington, 56 in Goldsboro. You go north, those numbers stay in the 40s in Henderson and Roxborough. 49 in Roanoke Rapids, 51 in Rocky Mount, and 53 in Wilson. Your 7-day forecast powered by AccuWeather. The winter solstice happening on Saturday. We'll break that down coming up in just a little bit, what that means for us here. Sunday and Monday are going to be cold. It's going to feel like it's in the 30s all day long. We've got a high on Sunday of 40, a high on Monday of 41 degrees, but most of the afternoon will be in the 30s. Some of the coldest air of the season. As a matter of fact, Monday morning we could see teens across the area. Tuesday, if you're headed out on Christmas Eve to any Christmas Eve services or festivity with the family, it looks pretty good for that. You might need a light jacket. Temperatures falling through the 40s, but not looking too bad. And then Christmas Day, which also happens to be the first day of Hanukkah this year. Morning present unwrapping looks good. It'll be dry. If kids get outdoor toys, they'll be able to go outside and use them. Late in the day, as our Jewish friends are lighting the first candles of the Hanukkah season, Unfortunately, that's when we could see some showers working through. Still a long ways to go on the timing of those showers, though. And now the big question, will we see a white Christmas? Short answer is no. Let's take a look at the statistics on what a white Christmas is in North Carolina, and you'll see your best chance of seeing a white Christmas is going to the mountains in North Carolina, although this year, this warm air we've seen the past couple of days has taken all the snow away. There's only a 10% chance, though, in the mountains. You might think, oh, they definitely see snow. No, as a matter of fact, if we look at the northeastern corridor, this blue area here indicates a 30% chance of seeing a white Christmas, and then this blue equals 50-50. You might think Chicago always sees a white Christmas. Not so. Only 1 in every 2 Christmases statistically in Chicago. As you get out into the mountains, Allegheny Mountains in central Pennsylvania, you get into that 50-50 shot. And then up into New England, you go northern New England, and they have a 90+% chance. Same thing up in Minnesota, Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan, and of course the Rocky Mountains out west, all with a 90% chance or greater chance of seeing snow. That's where you have to go if you want to be guaranteed some snowfall. Now, meteorologist Quaylen Murphy has been checking in with our friends at AccuWeather about those chances of a white Christmas and also any weather concerns ahead if you've got some holiday travel.
All right, we're in the final countdown to Christmas. AccuWeather lead long-range expert Paul Pastelok joins us with a look ahead at holiday travel. Paul, so glad to have you with us today.
Yeah, it's great to be here, Quaylen. You know, we're looking for the white stuff here this year, and you know, it's going to be pretty tough here in North Carolina.
Yeah, I've already broken the news to our viewers that we won't have a white Christmas in central North Carolina, but will there be a white Christmas anywhere in North Carolina?
Yeah, I think there will be. There's some snow on the ground as we speak across the western Carolinas at the present time, but the question mark is, will it be spreading out of the mountains this year? Are we going to see some snow maybe in the Piedmont or the central areas of the state? Well, historically, first of all, it's not really a high chance. We showed this map not too long ago about how it's pretty low as the farther east you go in the state, and again, much higher as you go in the western part of the state. So I looked at the latest snow map, and right now the country as a whole has 25% of the country has snow on the ground. Last year at Christmas, it was at 17, and so we're above that at least. But, you know, when you look at the white Christmas outlook here, you know, it doesn't look too good here in the southeast. In fact, it will get cold this weekend. That's the good news. And there is a system we're watching that's coming down maybe for Friday or Friday night that could produce a little bit more snow in the higher elevations of the northern mountains. So they should end up having a white Christmas there. Looks like a pretty good shot. But outside of that, it's going to be pretty tough. Not much precipitation. In fact, the storm system that does develop off the East Coast takes a lot of the moisture with it and doesn't leave us much. One area of the country that we're watching closely is the middle of the country. They're in a deficit actually as far as precipitation, and they're not getting any snow, so they may not see much in the way of snowfall either. So there's a lot of places in the central and southeast that are not going to see much as far as a white Christmas goes this year.
Yeah, lots of dreams being dashed there. The last time we saw some snow on the ground in Christmas Day here in Raleigh was back in 2010. How much of the country do you think will see a white Christmas compared to recent snowy years?
Yeah, when you look at the trends, there's really no major trend here that we're looking at. It's up and down. If you just look at the last couple of years, last year at 16.7%. The good news is we're a little bit higher than that at the present time with about 8 days to go. So we probably will be above that average, but not by much. And you look the year before, we were over 50%. That was a record for record-keeping sake since going back to 2000. So definitely, you know, not much there to show here as far as any steady pace in the snow cover action when it comes to white Christmases. But even back in 2012, you know, over 50%. 2 years since 2012 that we had over 50%.
All right, Paul, this weekend, do you see any weather on the horizon that could cause any travel troubles?
Well, Quaylen, you know, we talked about earlier a system coming out of the northwest. In fact, here's the system itself. It's going to be coming into the northwest on Wednesday, and then it's going to move out into the northern plains with some snow. And so if you're traveling in the Dakotas or parts of the upper Midwest, you may have to deal with a little bit of light snow and flurries that could cause some slippery roadways. Now, this is the system that was on the forecast models last week, bombing out off the East Coast, causing major worries for a lot of people going into the weekend. But it looks like this system's going to slide off the East Coast, just produce some wind that could cause some delays at the airports at the start of the holiday weekend. So definitely look for that to be an issue. But otherwise, when you look at the rest of the nation, mainly dry conditions in the Southwest, no problems there. The Northwest still getting hit right before Christmas, and again, another bigger system right after Christmas. So travel problems are going to be a main concern in the Northwest. And then some rain coming in between the 24th and the 26th. Looks like this area of the country could deal with some showers and some thunderstorms from time to time, maybe a little bit strong on the strong side near the Gulf Coast. And the Northeast, just a slight mix of some snow or mixed precipitation right around Christmas Eve, Christmas Day is what we're focusing on. So there are some problems out there, but there are spaced apart that we could see some pretty good travel coming up during the Christmas holiday.
Yeah, not totally unusual for winter to offer some storm potential. AccuWeather's Paul Pastelok, thank you so much for joining us.
Yep.
All right, thanks. And there's your outlook on that white Christmas. Unfortunately, not looking great around here. When we come back, we will take a look at your old school weather, as we like to call it. We'll break down what's going on across the country, and we'll take a look at the long-range forecast for the rest of winter coming up next. Welcome back to your first alert to winter. You know, every week on the weather show, we break down weather like they used to back in the 90s. We look at highs and lows, and we like to call that old school weather. So let's take a look at the surface map and show you what's going on across the country tonight. Right now, we've got one area of low pressure that's actually tracking up toward New England and New York and the megalopolis. That's throwing some snow down in parts of upstate New York, western or central New York, and then back into northeastern Pennsylvania and on into New England. Trailing off that is a cold front, and this is what's going to drop our temperatures. Yesterday we saw those, today we saw the numbers top out at 73. Tomorrow this cooler air works in behind it. That'll push us only to 53 for a high, but the really cold air is still bottled up here. You can see a cold front starting to form right there. This is what's going to drop out of Canada and work its way in here this weekend, and this air straight out of Canada in our region means the coldest air of the season. Now, Paul Pasternak was talking about that big storm through the northwest. Look at Montana, almost the entire state of Montana under some sort of winter storm watch warning or advisory. They have winter storm warnings out there. Same story in North Dakota, Minneapolis, most of Minnesota, most of northern Wisconsin into the UP of Michigan with several winter storm warnings, some wind warnings out all the way down to Omaha, Nebraska. Down in the south, in this part of Georgia, southeast of Atlanta, they just had a severe thunderstorm warning expire. It's very warm, very humid down in the south, so we are triggering some showers and some thunderstorms down there. And then on up into the north, all of that snow continues to fall. Winter weather advisory actually out for the mountains of central Pennsylvania, including Cambria and Somerset counties. That includes places like Johnstown and Somerset. All right, let's talk about our winter and what we typically see. We're in a La Nina winter. What does that mean? Well, La Nina, when we hear that, we're referring to the ocean temperature down in Central America. And I know you're saying, Don, who cares about the ocean in Central America? That ocean can affect our weather here. When it's warmer than average, it's called El Nino. It got that name because it usually happens around Christmas time, and El Nino is Spanish for the Christ child. So it picked up the name El Nino because of the warm waters. It usually brought really good fishing right around Christmas. The opposite of that is La Nina, and that's when the waters are colder than average. And that's what we're seeing this year. And in a La Nina winter, the polar jet will drop south. It will create a wetter than average winter off to the west. We are typically normal to dry in our area, and it does usually keep us warmer than average. And although December this year has been really cold, it is trending more toward warm as we get into January and February. As a matter of fact, if we look at what's coming to us from NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, they do some long-range forecasts, and this is December, January, and February. We call it the winter outlook. As far as precipitation goes, they are forecasting below average precipitation, way below average down in parts of Florida. Above average where the snow will be is in the Pacific Northwest. So far that trend has held, and in our area, we've had a couple of bouts of rain, but we are running dry. As a matter of fact, we did have drought conditions in parts of our viewing area as of last week. As far as NOAA's temperature outlook, below average temperatures for December, January, and February. That happens in the northern tier of states. Above average temperatures in the deep south, and we are in that way above average area. So even though it has been a colder than average December at times, we've seen some of the coldest air of the season this December. This will change as we head into January and February. It looks like the trend is toward warmer conditions. Doesn't always mean, though, that we will escape without any snow. There is a chance of snow. It takes some very specialized conditions for those storms to fire. Meteorologist Steve Stewart is breaking down the conditions we need to see such a winter storm.
For us to get snow around here, boy, we need a lot of ingredients. And we're talking about an all snow event, because most of our events, that's not the case, right? We might start as rain, turn to snow, back to rain or sleet or freezing rain. There's all this phase shifting going on. But for us to get an entirely snow event, there's some things that we need. The position of the low, available moisture, good enough cold air coming in from the north, and the position of the high. The high needs to be to our north, just providing a constant supply of really cold air all the way through the column, from the surface all the way up to at least 15,000 feet or so, needs to be below freezing. We need a low to the south that's helping to push moisture in, coming in off the ocean. And if this setup does occur, we get all these green check marks, well, absolutely, that could be an all snow event. Again, pretty rare for us. The biggest challenge that we have is dealing with, where is this low going to be? If it's a little bit closer, we're not getting enough of that cold air being supplied, then we start seeing that mix around snow turning to freezing rain or sleet, and then even rain farther off to the south. But one of the biggest challenges we have is trying to find out where that snow sleet line is going to set up. And there could be a huge difference. If it sets up just to our south, and we think it's going to be farther to the north, that could be a huge difference in how much visual evidence you have of precipitation. Think about this for a second. The exact same moisture content between these two events, if it's all snow, it's going to stack differently. So it's going to be like 8 inches. But if it is sleet, those little pellets, they compress and pack. That would be more like 2 inches. So if the forecast called for 8 inches and you go look outside and you go, oh, you guys had a busted forecast. Well, not necessarily. It's the same moisture content. It's just that sleet's going to pack down and not look nearly as much as 8 inches of snow.
Steve Stewart, by the way, one of the best winter forecasters I know. So if there is a winter storm headed in, we're on top of it. I promise you that. When we come back, winter officially arrives on the calendar on Saturday. We'll talk all things winter solstice next. Welcome back. Winter officially arrives on the calendar on Saturday. That is technically the first day of winter, but that's when the winter solstice happens. What do we mean when we say solstice? That means the Earth is tilted more to the north, basically, and the sun's direct rays are over the Tropic of Capricorn. They're the furthest south direct rays will be, and this happens this Saturday at 4:20 a.m. So that's when winter arrives on the calendar. In the weather department, winter arrives December 1st, but on your calendar at home, it might be December 21st. Let's talk more. Meteorologist Robert Johnson is here with our friends from AccuWeather to talk about this upcoming winter solstice.
And how does the winter solstice on December 21st impact us here in the Carolinas?
Well, the one thing about the solstice is it affects actually everyone in the lower 48. However, the difference is the time of daylight hours that we have. It's generally the lowest amount of daylight hours we have during the course of the year. And what we see is probably here in the Raleigh area just under 10 hours of daylight. So what does that mean as far as maybe the weather being affected by that? Well, the thing is that the nights are longer, okay? So it has time for the temperatures to continue to drop a longer time period. The ground actually gets colder because of those longer nights. And at the same time, we have a hard time recovering during the day because we have less daylight. Plus, the sun is angled more when we look at it at the southern hemisphere. The Tropical Capricorn is where the center, where the sunlight is aimed at. And so we miss those daylight hours to get recovery time as far as warming during the daylight hours. And another thing too is a lot of times if we don't have a dry air mass, we can get fog conditions because of the longer nights, and then it's longer for that to burn off. And so that can have an impact on your temperatures as well.
And we did see some foggy conditions earlier this week with those long nights. The good news, Sunday, the days start to get longer. When we come back, are you ready for winter weather? It's not happening right now, but it could, and you need to be prepared. So we'll talk tips for prepping your car for the coldest days of the year. And, of course, we've got your cup of coffee forecast, and we'll wrap things up. Stay with us. We'll be right back. You know, just like hurricane season, we get our hurricane kits ready before the storms arrive. Now is the time for you to get your car prepped for winter weather before it rolls in. Earlier, I stepped outside to show you some tips. Even if you're not a car person, you can still do a couple of things. Let me pop the hood on my truck real quick. We'll show you a couple things you can check. First of all, check your battery. It's usually somewhere in this area of your car. Sometimes it's in other spots, but mine is right here. You want to check the posts. Make sure they're free of debris. If you've got a buildup of kind of gunk around it, you can get a steel brush or steel wool and brush that off. Making contact with the battery is how you start your car, and if you've got a big buildup there, it may have trouble starting on a cold day. Number two, know where your windshield wiper fluid is. Mine is right here, and you can make sure it's full. And as we go into the winter season, get a windshield wiper fluid that's more of a winter blend. Sometimes in the winter, they'll make special blends that have a little more alcohol, a little more chemical in them, and then that way, as the temperatures drop, it won't freeze. If it's got a lot of water in it, it can freeze, depending on how cold it gets. One other thing you want to check out, your tire pressure. Now, this may be foreign to some of you, but go to your tire stem. By the way, you can get a tire pressure checker at any Walmart, or stop into any AutoZone or Advanced Auto Parts, and they'll get one for you. They'll even come out and check it if you want to. But check your tire pressure. On cold days, the cold air causes the air to move around in your tire less, and you can actually lose a pound of pressure for every 10 degrees we cool off. So on a really cold morning, you might get a low tire indicator. Now, if you don't know how much pressure is supposed to be in your tire, this is a little secret. You might have heard in driver's ed, but it's been a while since you were in driver's ed. It's been a while since I've been in driver's ed. So I'll show you where to find your tire pressure. Inside every car, I'm in the street, make sure no one's coming. Inside every car door, you'll find a sticker right down here, somewhere in the inner part of your door. Sometimes it's actually on the door. That'll tell you what your tires are supposed to be blown up to. Just a few things you can do, won't cost you any money unless you have to buy the tire pressure holder, and hopefully get your car winterized and ready to go. The best thing you can do, swing by your local licensed mechanic, have them look over your car and make sure you're ready to go for winter. Anna, my director, said I was in driver's ed 9 years ago. Mine was longer than that. You know, the NCDOT is making sure crews are ready for the winter season. Eyewitness News was there as the region's snowplows and sprayers were all tested along with all those brine trucks. If you're new to the South, brine is a big thing around here. They added 200 gallons of water to ensure those pumps were working. It's been over 2 years since Wake County has had any measurable snowfall, our second longest snow drought. NCDOT says it wants to make sure it's ready in case that changes this winter.
We like to take the time to make sure we check all our equipment, make sure everything's operating. We haven't had any measurable snow in the past 2 years. So this year the guys are going through every single piece of equipment, all of our brine tanks, all of our plows, all of our spreaders.
Now, the department has also new crew members who have been out and about on the roads reviewing their snow routes and getting things down, driving those big trucks. And a few more driving tips to pass along to you too. If you are headed out and the winter weather arrives, first of all, stay out of the truck's way. You want to check your tires. We already talked about that. Remove any ice or snow. Do not drive around with all that snow sitting on top of your car. If you've got to brush it off your windows to see, brush it off the top of your car too, because that can fly off and actually cause problems for drivers behind you. Skidding, remember, you want to turn the steering wheel into the direction of the skid. So if you start to skid that way, you turn the wheel to try and counter that. And skidding does happen around here a lot. We do tend to see a lot of icing in North Carolina. All right, the end of every weather show, we always give you that cup of coffee forecast for tomorrow morning as you head out and about. And tomorrow morning, it's actually going to be significantly cooler than it was today. We'll see those numbers right around 50 degrees all the way through 10 o'clock. The past 2 mornings, we've had very humid conditions. We've had a lot of fog. Tomorrow, the drier air starts to work in. But by Saturday morning, those numbers will be in the 30s and 20s. And by Sunday, Monday, you may want to have 2 cups of coffee as we get down into the teens in spots. That's going to do it for our first alert to weather, winter weather. Please be careful and know that if winter weather arrives in our area, your first alert weather team will be all over it. All of us are in, all of us are watching, and we're waiting on the snow. Part of me doesn't want to see it because it's always tough to work during snow, but part of me loves it just as much as you do, and hopefully we'll see some in January or February. Thanks for joining us tonight. We're here every Wednesday with the Wednesday Weather Show. Until next time, take care and stay safe.